Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org and this is a video tutorial for the new Boston. In this video we're going to look at creating an example application that's going to reference the paragraph using a selector or some paragraphs on a page using selectors in jQuery. So essentially what we're going to be creating is an application that allows you to increase the text size on a page between paragraph tags. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our page so we know exactly how it looks. So let's first of all go ahead and create our paragraphs. I'm going to create a paragraph here and that's going to have some text inside of it. So this is some text. I'm then going to create another paragraph just below this. This is some more text. So now just up here we want to create some links that are going to allow us to click smaller or bigger in order to increase or decrease the font size of this text. So let's go ahead and create our links. So this one is going to be, well, we'll put a label here, so font size. This one is going to be smaller and this one here is going to be bigger. So the link is going to be a hash because we're not actually linking to a page. We're using jQuery to handle when we click on these links, but we're going to give each one an ID. So the first one's going to be smaller and this one is going to be bigger. So now what we can do is we can create event handlers for each of these links and then actually perform an operation on the paragraphs on the page, i.e. increase their size using the bigger link or decrease their size using the smaller link. Let's just go over to our browser and take a look at our page. So this is how it looks at the moment. We've got a smaller link and a bigger link which we can click on, and then once we've finished the tutorial and actually created the jQuery functionality, these paragraphs will increase. Now we're kind of taking the long way round, however the reason I'm doing this is to demonstrate the use of selectors and just to make things a bit easier to understand. So we've included selectors.js inside of our page as well as jQuery.js, and we have selectors.js here open in our text editor ready to start editing. So the first thing we want to do is create event handlers for both these links. So we're going to use a selector to reference the smaller link, and then when this is clicked we want to run a function. So we create our function definition, and then between these paragraphs, these curly braces here, we are going to perform a function, and this function is going to be change_size. We're going to go ahead and look at the parameters in a minute when we've done the same for bigger, and then we'll be feeding in the parameters and looking at creating the actual function itself. So the next is hash bigger, and we want to again create the same click event handler, and again we want to outline a function here, and between these brackets we want to run the same function. Now the parameters that we're going to feed here is which element we want to be made bigger. Now for example we could choose the element or an asterisk, or for all elements on the page, or we could just choose a specific element, and in this case we're just going to choose a specific element. So the element that we want to feed in is P, and the next parameter will just be smaller. So what's going to happen in this change size function, we're going to change all of the elements that correspond to this selector to a smaller font size, and we're going to use an if statement to check this value inside of this change size function. So we'll do the same for this one. We'll select all paragraphs and we want to make them bigger. Okay, so let's go up and start to define our function and the parameters that we need to feed in, and then we'll create the rest of the function. So the function is called change_size. We'll create our block and then we'll fill in the parameters that we need to feed in. So the first is the element that we want to change, or the element set that we want to change, and the second parameter is the size. So this element here corresponds to the P, and this size here corresponds to this textual representation of where we want the size to go. Do we want to increase it or decrease it? Okay, so inside of our function, we need to grab the current size of the text inside of these paragraphs. So there'll be a default text size for these paragraphs, which we can retrieve. So I'm going to create a variable called current, and that's going to be equal to element.css.